without further ado, I'd like to welcome Rob Tanti to the stage. Rob's currently the Director of People and Capability at Hydro Tasmania. He's had a very long career in HR, including working for some time for Elders, and he's going to be talking to us about sourcing and retaining staff. Thanks, Rob.
Am I? Oh, I'm on. Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Oh, nice. Thank you. A bit of a rev up already. Was it that bad a night last night, was it? All right. I was here last night, and I'm glad I was here as a guest of Ash, and just to get a sense of the many displays, but the people, the personalities that work in this industry, and what I'm going to try and do today is spare you the theory babble. There's going to be a little bit of it, I'm afraid, because it sets a context in terms of what really matters to me and what has driven me in my profession, and why I think all of us as employers almost need a revised obsession about the kind of people we bring in, because we're all trying to solve the same problems. So I need to put that within context, but I'll see if I can throw in there a couple of stories along the way that have worked and haven't worked for me, and we'll keep it real. So a little bit about Hydro Tasmania. 1,100, nearly 1,200 employees. We are Australia's leading renewable energy business. So we pride ourselves on non-carbon generating assets. So if you think about Loy Yang, coal-fired gas generators, we focus on that. We look after, we're the custodians of some of Tasmania's most pristine and beautiful waterways and landmarks, and most of our stuff gets generated through pressure built in dams, turbines at the bottom of it. Most of the people we have working for us are either local or they're flown in from the business. You have a combination of sparkies, fitters, electrical engineers, civil engineer, hydrologists, environmentalists, and so on and so forth. Huge footprint. We have two other businesses that are part of our mix. Momentum Energy, they're a retail business in Melbourne, operate out of Melbourne, and we have another engineering consultancy firm in Tura, that a small organisation of about 200 people. There's no other way to describe these guys. They are tech geeks. They live and breathe engineering, they live and breathe hydrology. We have operations in South Africa, small operations in India. We consult and help people set up solar farms, wind farms, pumped hydro. That's us. That gives you a sense of who we are. Small firm, but a very big presence, and proudly operating out of a very small but not insignificant state in Australia. And I've been in the role for 6 months. Before that, in transport, a little bit with Australia Post. Before that, for my sins, a bit of time with Elders in a really ordinary part. I don't know if people remember the ugly part of Elders around 2011, fears of bankruptcy, difficulties we had trying to get people to come and work for us, rural landmark all over us. So I can talk a little bit about that and see if I can weave some of those stories in, if you like. Okay. Oh, there's a clicker here. All right. Sourcing and retention. The best way I can explain it is this. A while ago, we were talking about R.M. Williams. And I was introduced to the wonderful world of R.M. Williams and moleskins when I first started at Elders. And a few years ago, I was living in Sydney, and my brown R.M. Williams needed resoling. I sent them off. I went to a local R.M. Williams store, sent them off, and they came back to me. And they were the most embarrassing shoes to wear, not because of the way they looked fantastic, but every second step followed with a squeak, accompanied a squeak. So I'd be walking down a very corporate office, and it just sounded like I was just emitting gas every second step. And I just drew attention to myself. It was pretty ordinary. I do love the product, but you were getting to a point in time where it started to wear on me. I had another pair of shoes, another pair of RMs. And I must say, I'm not paid by R.M. Williams to tell you this story, but I just got 2 pairs and that's all I wear. Anyway, I walked into the store, they took them off, they're dealing with Adelaide. Adelaide said, we don't know why this is happening, we can't figure it out, everything looks really good. And I'm not arguing, but we're having a discussion about how problematic it is and how embarrassing it is. I went back the following day, they wanted to talk to head office, and as I walked in, she said, I've got good news for you. I said, what's that? Pick any pair of brown R.M. Williams off the shelf and they're yours, no charge. That is an amazing customer experience. Why does that story matter? Because it's no different to the kind of job, product we offer the people that we want to come and work for us. Often we make it a distinction. The biggest learning for me when I first started in HR was this moving from this whole environment where it's a privilege to have a job to why would you come and work for us in the first place? What's in it for you? What am I selling you? You've got a unique set of skills and capabilities and energy and talent. I want you to work for me versus a competitor. That's the same. It's the employee experience. It's when they come for us, what keeps them staying, or when they go, and they go on good terms, what keeps them speaking about us in a really good way. And it matters because we compete for a finite resource. The candidate experience will speak to, using the same experience about the brand, the people you talk to, their own lived experience with the organisation, so it becomes immediately identified. In an environment, in a labour market environment, it's where the two intersect that says, what's our value proposition? And this is a really new term for us. When I say new, it's probably about 5 or 6 years old. So it's, what do you go to market with? What's your pitch? It used to be a single pitch, and now it varies between, the kind of demographic. What's your pitch for somebody who's 35 to 45-year-old, if they're a male or a female? What are the differences there? So that's the difference between sourcing and retention. One is you're constantly in the market, and the other one is you're thinking about a positive candidate experience. Okay, theory. Why it matters. All right. Sense of purpose, vision, mission. The last presenter spoke about that. So I'm just going to talk about this from the point of view of my time at Star Trek at Australia Post. When I first joined, we were bringing 2 businesses together. They bled we had something called a business called Australian Air Express, green colour. We had Star Trek, most of you would see Star Trek, and that was blue. We would say you cut those 2 employees in half, one would bleed green and the other one would bleed blue. Very parochial, very loyal to the brand. All right? Long history of stories. We needed to bring them together, but we needed to do that on the basis of what is it that we're trying to be when we grow up. So now that we've got these 2 businesses, what's our vision, what's our mission? And this matters because it addresses the why. What we wanted to give people to was a yardstick that says, well, when you join us, these are the things that matter to us or to our customers, and these are the things we need for you to obsess about. It's not just come into work, hop in the back of your truck, drive, and that's it. It's you're driving in your truck because this is what we want to be when we grow up. These are the things we need to give you in terms of direction. The next component was, organised in terms of the mission, the organisation, the job. So let me describe those quickly. When you start off with a view of the customer, kind of an aspiration for the business, you then work really hard from a HR perspective and with our marketers on what does good look like. So when you recruit for good, what are the attributes, the skills, the talents that you want? And if you're a driver, if you're a salesperson, if you're an accountant, if you're an account manager, what does good look like? It's engineered within the context of that. And that's the definition of what. And remember, the thing here you try to address is, one of the most often things that frustrates people in their job is, what am I here to do? What's the purpose? What's the ambition of the organisation? The why. And then what do you need for me to be? What's the role that you've got on the table here? And then the other one is the how. What's the recruit? What's it like to work here? How do we go about doing our daily jobs, the values, the culture, all of those manifestations. Now, all of that matters because oftentimes from a HR perspective, when people join your business, what you look to organise is give them clarity, give them context, give them a sense of meaning. People will look for a sense of, well, what matters? And if that is ill-defined for them, then they'll make up their own sense of meaning. This matters from a retention point of view. One of the key research we found, and when we asked our people as they were leaving, is they said, I wasn't really clear about what was expected of me in my job, not really sure about what the purpose of the business is, and therefore I'm going to somewhere where I can, I'm clear about what matters to them and where they're going and so on and so forth. Why people stay and why people leave. All right. First and foremost, people don't leave their organisations. They leave their boss. Research is really clear about that. So to use that vernacular, if you don't feel your boss gives a shit, why on earth would you? About you. It's no different to most other professional type relationships, and forgive the French, that's captured in that wonderful emoji. Career and development opportunities, job clarity, cultural fit, I spoke about that, fair and transparent pay and incentive decisions. Now, oftentimes, that point 4 becomes an issue when there are problems around 3, 2, and 1. I don't get paid enough to deal with this. And how it manifests itself is I've had people who I've tried to retain, really good people who have left organisations who I've worked for, who we've tried to retain, that just say, you know what, I'm getting paid 30 grand less a year to go to this other job, but it's, I've met my boss, he's fantastic, he's welcoming, he's encouraging, my opinions matter, my values matter, I've spoken to people in that business, I've done my research, this is the kind of place I want to be at. Work flexibility is emerging as a really strong point and attribution in business. You've got companies like PwC that have a rule around all jobs flex. We have increasingly in our business a number of our engineers, both male and female. This isn't just about women looking to work part-time. We've got a lot of men in our business, in fact just as many men that are opting to work part-time, flexible work arrangements, want to spend a little bit more time at home with the kids, or want to help out at home, the wife is the main breadwinner, all that kind of stuff. And even if they aren't, I just want to be a better dad, so I'm looking to have the kind of job that facilitates that kind of environment. I remember, my father had a kind of job, my sister's in the room here as well. Dad hated his job. But he had 7 kids, 5 years between the eldest and the youngest that he needed to care for. Mum worked full-time as well. There was never an option. It was never an option to think about, oh, I'm unhappy where I am, I need to move on. That was just not something they thought about in those days. And we grew up as in a generation, and we used to see those adults almost being mistreated by their employer when it came to either rewards, benefits, special consideration. And I used to think it was such a shame that Dad would go to work and hate what he'd do for a living, but he just did it. People just don't feel that restricted anymore. I'm a single income earner. I've got 3 kids, started my family really, really late, so that means I'm going to have to probably wait till I'm 70. But that's okay. There's a lot of reward that comes with that too. 3 boys, and I just know that there are certain requirements now that I have in my job, and I travel a lot for my work. But the company, when I deal with them, is about can I be the kind of dad I want to be? The last company I left was because I wasn't either being the professional I thought I could be, or I was being taken away from the things that really mattered to me. We sell as employers. We don't just sell a job anymore, we sell a lifestyle. And I think it's really important that we position it in that regard. you know, and look, I'm conscious that I'm talking about it from an employer perspective. You know, we've got 1,100 employees. The last company I worked for had 2,000. The last company I worked for before that had 40,000 employees. It's easy for us with a huge footprint. I can't imagine, although I have some empathy for what it's like if you're a primary producer and you're just dealing with 5 staff. You only need 5 good workers to come and work for you, and you are struggling to get them. I can't imagine how tough that is. And I think possibly at the end of it, if we're going to have question times, we might be able to look at ways of working around that. But the other thing is clear and consistent communication, letting people know what really matters, employee involvement and meaningful work, friendship and fun. There's this well-known employee engagement survey called Gallup Q12. They only ask 12 questions. And one of the questions they ask is, do you have a best friend at work? And when I first came across that, I thought, what a bunch of wank. Best friend at work, what does that mean? But it actually means quite a bit. Especially when you've got good mates at work. It's an element you actually really look forward to if you're encouraging the kind of environment where you've got good friends at work. In fact, I've had people that are conflicted in their jobs because they have great friends at work, but they bloody hate their boss. And so they've got this dilemma. I don't want to leave my friends behind, but I've got to because there's more opportunities for me out there. Everything else doesn't fit, but geez, I work with some great people. I've had people in tears who are like, Rob, I really don't want to go. This is fantastic. It's a great place. I've got really good friends. These things actually do matter. And I think about it, when you think about it yourself from a very personal perspective, when I go to work, I like to go out and have a beer with the guys I work with. I like to go have lunch with my team. Keep it cordial, keep it friendly. Okay, sourcing versus recruitment. What's the difference? Well, recruitment is reactive. So, when I worked at, I'll try not to mention names, but my last employer, we turned over our drivers at a rate of about 60% per annum. So you've got 1,800 drivers. You are replacing that entire workforce in less than 2 years, every year. Okay. That paradigm would mean, and we used to talk about this, I don't care whose ass you put behind the wheel of that truck, so long as it's an ass that breathes and can read the road signs, just get them in the door. And invariably, that failed as a business. And it's only when we started to ask questions of why is it that you're leaving? Pay was one issue, condition of the truck was another issue, and so on. The thing about recruitment is it worked to a point in time because it's reactionary. I got a vacancy, I put somebody in that role, job's done, I can move on. The market has moved on considerably to a point where it's candidate-centric. So increasingly, the words are around, I expect jobs to search for me. Good people that are on Facebook, LinkedIn, Glassdoor, I'll show a few of them later on, expect to be courted now. And that's certainly phrased or framed the way we go to market now. It's just, yes, we'll put ads in Seek, yes, we'll put ads in LinkedIn, yes, we'll have ads in The Age or in the Fin Review, but there's a lot more that we need to do. Job applications should be as easy as online shopping. That is moving increasingly more. I mean, we have already, anybody that's got an iPhone or an Android, an iOS or an Android app on phones, we can navigate our way. We can get there. I say there's no more mystery in life anymore. You would be in a Trivial Pursuit night. You're playing Trivial Pursuit. Somebody would ask a question, do you remember the name of that band? Do you remember that actor who was in such and such a movie? And everybody used to, 10 years ago we'd be racking our brains and there'd be some smart-ass in the room who always had all the answers. We are now mobile smart-asses because we've got this little thing in our pocket, right? And we can navigate our way through really quickly. The generation of people that we're trying to recruit want or believe that the way they interact with their employer or their potential employer has got to be as seamless as that, as easy as that. In fact, we talk about work being an easy company. We talk about us trying to be an easy company to work for. Less forms, more online, click and flick, slide, shuffle, all that kind of stuff. We talk about the user experience being that. And if you're a line manager, if you're a business manager, anything else is really painful for you to deal with. You throw bureaucracy in front of them and they just lose interest. But again, the market is changing significantly. How applicants learn about employees. So I've just got a few up there. They'll listen to the radio, they'll tweet, they'll read about us in The Age, there'll be ads, Glassdoor, LinkedIn. Is everybody familiar with Glassdoor? So Glassdoor is the TripAdvisor of the job market. So it'll tell you a little bit about the company. So you could type in the company, those that are listed, and it's volunteered, right? So these are candidates that either work in your business or have left your business, rate your business online. So the number of employees that we interview at interview stage, and they'll say, tell me what you know about Hydro, or what do you know about Kings, or what do you know about Australia Post? And what they'll do is they'll say, well, in Glassdoor, I hear that your CEO is not very visible. In Glassdoor, I read that your pay and benefits is not that great, are not that great. So there are critics already. It's the same thing in TripAdvisor. I could be here thinking about a restaurant I go for, open TripAdvisor, give me local restaurants, it'll give me a rating of those ones that I want to go to straight away. This is happening now. You can't control this as an employer. The candidate is taking control over that and they're talking about your business in that way. Okay. LinkedIn, Indeed, Seek, it's omni-channel, right? So it's not just in the old days when, you wanted to get an employer or an employee and you would go to market, you'd place an ad in the front page or you think about it in the general section out the back. This is happening in real time. And it is ongoing. So what I've got there are excerpts from both our Facebook pages and LinkedIn pages. Over here you'll see the Intura business. So Intura, when you think about it, the reason that exists, we've got 100,000 odd, where's the number up there? Okay, 105,000 followers. It's an organisation with only 200 staff. They've got 105,000 followers. They're on site because they know that engineers want to work for them because they're interested in hydrology, they're civil engineers, they're electrical engineers, they're mechanical, they're hydrologists, they're keen in the environment, they follow that business. And this business, they're not out there looking for work. What they're doing is they're posting articles that are written by their own engineers. They're talking about programs that we're engaged in real time. So you think about that, they're giving the market a sense of the kind of great work we do and what it's like to work with us. That's not a job ad. But it's what people use as a reference point when they want to come and work for us or when they think about working for us. Think about Hydro Tasmania right there. We have a diversity agenda there. Again, it says a little bit about our organisation. We have, just by way of an example, we've just finished our graduate recruitment program. We had 800 applicants for roles. We had, of our engineers, there were 400 engineers applied. 11% of those were women. Now that is a big issue when we are trying to think, when we're trying to create an inclusive and diverse organisation. And some of the things we do up front, this is why sourcing, this is the difference between recruitment and sourcing, is that what we do is we don't just restrict ourselves to, engineers, typically we could get enough males and that'd be fine. But there come a point in time when you've got to take a much broader view of the market and you think, I just want to get the best possible talent to come and work for me. I don't care if they identify, I don't care if they're gender neutral, if they're male, female, mum, dad, what their sexual preference like, what age they are, what ethnicity they are, none of that really matters. So long as they meet that criteria of what good looks like, then I'm okay with that. This is about saying, well, we've acknowledged that there just aren't enough women engineers out there. So the company, as part of its sourcing strategy, provides scholarships to young women engineers. More than that, we actually have, you'll see over here, in that last bit, there's a TAFE program going on. That's actually in a high school where kids, boys and girls, are building spaghetti bridges, right? So we fund that. Our engineers go along to that. We do that because we're trying to increase awareness or raise an attraction into STEM, science, technology, maths and so on, into our business. Trying to lift that profile of people that are thinking about a career in science, and we make that whole fund for them. May the 4th be with you. That was a due date of so all our applications for our grad program were due back on May the 4th. And so it's just one of our cute little campaigns to try and leverage off the Star Wars campaign. I guess the thing I want to make here, the point I want to make here is that sourcing is more about you are constantly in the market. And if you have a recruitment mindset to a job you're trying to fill, you're just going to keep chasing your tail. So we think about being in the job in the market all the time. We're thinking about how we are coming across with our market. We're thinking about what our press looks like. We think about making good on the press. We've got this dam in Trevellyn. If you've everybody been, any Tasmanians here? Okay. All right. Okay. Well, there are 70 people employed in the pork industry in Tasmania. I just figured that out. So there, maybe no one's here. But anyway, I'm from Melbourne. I commute between Melbourne and Hobart. So anyway, we've got this dam called the Trevellyn Dam. And one of the things we had to deal with, it's a great story, and it's one we showcase, was there's these eels. And when we built the dam, we put a great big bloody wall in this estuary that led them out to the sea to spawn and then to come all the way back in. So as we put up this dam, we stopped them from doing that. One of our environmental scientists took that, and these are called the alva eels. When I first heard about it, I thought they were alder eels, and I had this image of a whole lot of eels and walking sticks and walking frames going around. Anyway, just a quick story is this. So our engineers and environmental scientists built a ladder. And this ladder is just like a household gutter. And in the middle of the gutter is these little plastic little bits that stick up a little bit. And it's at the bottom of the estuary. They've built a way for these eels to, as they're spawning, to crawl up through the dam. So they found an opening. They found a way to coax them and encourage them to an opening in the bottom of the dam. And you see this thing, it's, just walking up the stairs and down the stairs, you get out of breath. These things just move all the way up, drop out the other end and come out and then keep swimming out to shore, keep swimming out to sea. Now, our people did that. And the great thing about that is that, that becomes, we look at that, I look at that from the perspective of a HR manager who's focused, absolutely obsessed with the best people for the job. And you think, that's a great story. That attracts people to us. They see you doing that, and and those engineers, those environmental scientists will think, oh, I'd love to work in a place like that. Okay, it's inclusive and really has a social conscious. We've lost the luxury, I think, of being able to say that this job or a job suits a certain demographic. I mean, that's a nonsense anyway. It always has been a nonsense. But, we get to a point in time where you do need to say, if you go to market for a job, and this is where it matters, if you go to market and you're recruiting and your recruitment campaign or your go-to-market campaign, your pitch suits males. It's got photos of males in the picture, it talks about the job, and what you lose is that demographic that are women who are just as suitable, who could do that job. We're spending a lot more time on that, a lot more time on removing bias, unconscious bias from everything we do to try and attract The obsession is the best person for the job. And we do a lot more with that. Now, the other thing is that when employers or employees think about you as an organisation, they look for your track record there. Have you seen ads where you say, you know, this company is an employer of choice for an equal opportunity employer? That's where it all started, but there's a lot more. Different races, different genders, different sexual preferences. Everything you do, it matters. Okay, but there's a lot more coming our way that makes this even more complicated. So not only do you need to think about getting different types, what is happening in the market is the rise of the gig economy. So organisations now, and Hydro is one of those. We've got 1,100 employees. There's a couple of other really big employees in the business in Tasmania. So we don't think now about jobs just in Tas or just in our business. We network with other employers so that we can take an engineer or a linesman or a tradie and we can offer them a job that just says, well, here's an activity that's going on in Hydro, and here's another one that's going on in Tas Networks, and here's another one that's going on in Tas Water. And when we collaborate, we can find those opportunities. I mean, it doesn't matter who they go to, so long as we're finding a way to keep them engaged. The other thing that's happening is this rise of the gig economy. So employers that just come up. You know, the most common one you'll see is Airtasker. You just get online, you put out a tender for somebody and you say, I need somebody to come in and move my furniture or cut my grass, put an extension on the back of my house. People start bidding and you go to the best bidder. Right? Expert 360 is a new firm where they only now deal with technical expertise, engineers, scientists, where you could put your job, your activity on that, and then talent bids for that. So these are people who make a conscious choice to say, I'm not after a career, I'm just looking after activity, different kinds of experiences. That's happening a lot. Employer cooperatives, so I mentioned that with our Tas networks and so on, and development partnerships. Now, the thing is, as dynamic as the market is now, is the most stable it's ever going to be. We know that, and that's why, as a company, there are two things we really obsess over: quality talent, quality experience. Complacency is not our friend, folks. So I've just quickly give you some numbers up there. You look at where the growth is going to come. Primarily, huge demand in education and training, 12% increase. Healthcare and social assistance, 16% increase. Agricultural, forestry and fishing set over the next 5 years to decrease by 0.8%. So it is a tough, competitive market, and we just can't afford to be passengers and just completely reactive on that. How much time do I have left, Ash? Yeah, okay, I better get going. All right. It's going to get worse. So whilst the aggregate supply is going to be fairly stable, the demand for those kind of jobs is just going to get crazy. And it's just no time to just chill and let it all happen to us. All right. That's about all I have time for. Thank you for your patience and your attention. Appreciate it.